Future note to any loved ones that might find this video before it gets uploaded because you found my body laying on the floor. I apologize. I am not an idiot, I swear. This is 30-plus-year-old technology that I'm trying to figure out, so. For those of you that aren't aware, I've been planning on working on a couple of classic Macs now for 3 years maybe. I picked up a Mac Plus on eBay, got a really good price on it. Don't know if it works though, because I ended up just taking it apart instead of testing it first. And because I hate money, I bought a Mac SE a few weeks later because I found another good deal on it. So figured if one doesn't work, maybe the other one will. And I've been working on it over the past 3 years, although a lot of the initial work I did was 3 years ago, and I lost that footage, and it kind of made me lose motivation to continue working, but I figured I'm going to have to tackle it at some point, so why not? You'll notice that the logic board doesn't have any RAM in or anything. I took it out because I wanted to give it a good cleaning and all that. I did go ahead and replace the X and Y caps, the filtering caps, the ones that, the RIFAs that are very famous for breaking. Yes, these Ys are RIFAs, but I figured that they're newer. Maybe they'll work just fine. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little closer. Hopefully it'll come through on camera here. Just the lighting. So yeah, so I replaced the two Ys with a RIFA, and the X I replaced with one called a Tenta. I did buy a RIFA for it, but it was too small. Technically, this one is too small as well, but the legs on it are a lot longer, so I was able to get them through. I did think about replacing some of the other capacitors on here, but I figured for now, I'll just leave it. If there's any issues, then I can replace them. Tried to give it a cleaning and touch up some of the solder joints as best as I could. This board likes to suck away heat, I'll tell you that. I am concerned with this. I don't know if it's corrosion or if it's mold or what, so I'm going to test those traces out. Although it looks like they're probably tied to the ground plane, not sure. We will find out. I ended up having to spray paint the chassis itself because it was just completely gone, especially in this area here. I did clean up the corrosion though, obviously, so that it wouldn't seep through the paint, but I give it a nice coating of Rust-Oleum, well, few rounds I should say. And yeah, so one thing I want to do though is I don't want to fully reassemble it, but I do want to make sure everything's working first before I go any further with it, because I do have to retrobrite the case. As you can see, it's pretty yellowed, and that right there is roughly what the original color is supposed to be like, but it looks like that now. Problem is that because of the metallic paint that they use to act as an RF shield, I can't just soak this. So this has to use the cream method where you brush it on, and unfortunately that runs the risk of streaking. But I'm probably going to have to. This side's even more yellowed than the front, so it is what it is. I'll have to get a bit of cleaning first, of course. The other thing I'm going to do is pop this guy out there because that's going to be very much at risk of fading if I do get some peroxide gel on there, at least from what I've read and seen. I didn't even realize that, but there's a small chunk missing from the bottom here. I think it's too late to contact the eBay seller for a partial refund. It's like I said, it's been a while. So anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out a way to get this all connected without fully reassembling it, and we'll give it a test. I also have to remember how to put this darn thing back together because it's been a while since I worked on it, like a really long time. So let's see if I can get some height here. So, the analog board is going to attach like that. And there are a couple of screw mounts right there, hoping that's showing up on camera, for attachment and everything, as well as here too. So that shouldn't be an issue. Obviously the logic board, the logic board is much, much simpler because that just slides in. down here on these little guide rails. So now this will give you a little bit better idea of the damage done. You can see a little bit of damage here and here. So yes, I'm going to not even bother with the back because it isn't needed for this, just the front and a few other things. Now the CRT itself has not been on since I took it apart, and probably not even before then. So I don't have to worry about discharging or anything. Fortunately, I do want to give it a little bit of a cleaning though. It does have some dust on there, just in case. That should suffice. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just for testing purposes. Now I got to remember how to get this back together, like I said, so bear with me. Fortunately, younger me was smart enough to label all the screws and attach them to these sticky notes here, if the focus would work. There we go. So like power supply, analog board, drive cage, which we won't need right now because I'm not going to get that far. Case screws, although I won't need those really. Ground screws apparently I left in this bin here. Random zip bag. And then chassis and CRT, which we will need for sure. So I need those two. Ground. I'm sure I figure something out with that. So I'm also not going to bother putting this on just yet. It's not needed. Debating whether or not to put this on so that I don't inadvertently electrocute myself by touching something I shouldn't. Fortunately, it's not going to be adhesive anymore because these have long since dried out. I'll have to figure out how to peel them off without doing any damage and replacing them, or maybe just putting some double-sided tape on this side here and then, but we'll see. So yeah, this will be fun. All right, I'm going to have to put it on its side so I can get easier access to the screws and the mounts and everything. But it's a little top heavy. Let's see if that'll hold it up or not. So while I did mark off the screws in general, what I failed to do is what type goes where. I have these two types, one with a thinner threading on it and one with a thicker threading on it, and I don't know which one is which, so guess we'll have to find out. I do have 4 of these, so more than likely this is the correct screw for here, but maybe I just need to use a little bit more. I also got to remember that I did paint this, so the threads are probably a little bit thicker than they normally would be because of the fact that there's paint on them. So, all right, so I only need to have 2 of them in there to kind of hold it in place. Yeah, that should work fine. And what was probably another cost-cutting measure is that the mounts for the CRT are plastic, of course, so got to be very careful about rethreading the screws so that I do not strip them. Now I'm trying to remember, when I took it apart, did I take the front panel off first and then detach the CRT? Or did I want to install this first and then put the CRT in to add a little bit of stability? Let me do this, move this to my chair. Set this down, and then I can set the CRT like so. Yeah, that'll be better. Be much easier to install it, but it does make it a lot heavier, so I'll just have to be very careful, I suppose. Those screws I've got right here, and these are using Torx. Let me switch. Furnace just kicked on, so I apologize for the background noise. I'll try to do what I can with it. Now, when you're putting screws back into plastic, many of you may already know this, but if you don't, don't just screw the screw in. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit closer here if possible. Don't just screw the screw in. Turn it counterclockwise until you feel it fall in and kind of make a click sound. That will force the screw to reuse its original threads so that it doesn't strip them away and create new ones, which would inadvertently make it looser and could possibly cause things to fall out like a CRT tube. Now, even though we're testing, I am going to install all 4 screws because, again, this is a CRT and I do not want this to fall. And one more with the ground line attached. Here's fine. Actually, I need to loosen these up a bit and realign. There, that's better. For those that aren't sure what I just did, the alignment wasn't quite right, so okay, so it's reattached. Definitely heavy, so I'm going to have to reattach the chassis to it to give it a little bit more structure. Raise the camera up here. I probably should have reattached the analog board after the fact, but I don't always think. Something like that. I do like how they have this little guidepost there. I'm assuming that's what it's for, to help guide this into position. And good. And then these use the exact same screws as the CRT does. So we have to exercise the same caution with the threads and everything. Four should be enough. Feels pretty sturdy to me. This is probably the first time that this has been partially reassembled since winter of 2019, maybe? Maybe early 2020. When I say winter of 2019, I mean like December time period, so. Anyway, let me go ahead and turn it back on its side again. So they've got this ground here going to this point here to ground to the chassis, which is smart to do. Where is that screw I just had? One thing I did notice that I really never paid attention to before is that there is no neck board, because all the controls are going to be on the analog board, and I don't know why I just realized that, but I did, and I'm wondering if I have the CRT upside down, which I think I do, because this will not reach. Some of you probably saw that mistake already. I was going by this label here, which was on the top, when I probably should have been going by this label here, which is on the bottom, especially since the cap here reaches there. So let's take it apart again. That should make more sense now, because that connects there. Ground strap is attached. There's that connector there. And this one goes here. Yeah, so everything lines up that way. So, yeah, little life pro tip. Make sure the orientation's correct. Why is that still dusty? I thought I cleaned that. I must have been a little bit too careful. Man. Of course, these stickers are falling off too. Think about maybe reattaching them or not, we'll see. Alright. Okay, now all that's left is the logic board. I'm surprised they didn't call it the digital board, but it's a joke, people. Actually, I probably should put some RAM in here before I put this in, huh? The other thing I don't like that Apple did is they used the plastic clip version of these sockets, and they're very prone to snapping off. Even back in the day when these were brand new. So let's see if I can get it installed without snapping any of them. Do it very carefully. And once these get reinstalled, they probably won't be removed unless they don't work. Now, it's not like you can't replace them, but why go through all of that when you have to desolder every single one of these connections? And since the sockets are in pairs, you have to remove both of them, even if only one of these are cracked. I mean, I suppose if you were to cut it maybe right there, let me see if I can focus. If you were to cut it right there, I suppose, and here, you could probably separate the pieces and there. Okay, now we're ready to go. Adjust for glare. And then this should just slide right in. Might be a little bit of a tight fit due to the paint, but I think we'll be all right. And that snaps in there. I'm not going to bother with the screws here because that's not going anywhere. I just cursed myself. I know I shouldn't have said that, but I think we'll be all right. I'm not going to hook up a floppy drive or anything because I'm probably going to have to do maintenance to that anyway, and I just want to see if this damn thing powers on. It's a very stiff cable. There. My only concern is the amount of pressure being put onto the logic board because I don't have the rear housing on, but there really isn't much that I'm going to be able to do about that. There's no way for me to brace it up or anything. So it is what it is. Now reattaching the cap here. Never had to do that before, so all right, 30,000 volts ready to go. I wonder how I can get this camera angle in the way so we can see the front of the screen to see if it's going to boot up or not. Oh, let me figure it out and find a way. Not a fan of this angle, but it does give a view of the screen at least. Let me find a power cord and we'll get it going. All right, here goes nothing. It beeped. It was that little bit of a static sound initially, and it's hard to see, but I've got a picture. Not sure if it's coming through. Yeah, so I've got a grid pattern. I don't have any disk icon or anything, but it powers on, so I don't see any... Oh, there it goes. It's working to an extent. Obviously, I need to test the floppy drive and everything, but oh, that's so refreshing. All right. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm kind of excited right now, and I'm in a good mood because this is working, so I don't want to get a failure or anything like that. So, but yeah, looks like this is working. Let me see if I can adjust the camera to show the insides. I don't see anything burning. Nothing's going wrong, so I think we're good. Sweet. So this will be my first entry into MARCHintosh. I don't know if this is going to be an entire month vlog project where every video will be about this specific Mac, or if I do other things too. But we'll see. Yeah, but there will be a video in the future, probably, maybe, hopefully next week, about the floppy drive. It may work fine. I don't know. It's dirty for sure, but just in case, I did pick up these. Wow, that's very oversaturated. Wow. Can't get the stupid thing to focus either, but I have replacement gears for the eject mechanism because that's one of the known failures on the Mac floppy drives for whatever reason. Whatever type of plastic they use for that specific gear just crumbles. The other gears in the drive don't have that same problem. Not sure what Apple was thinking, but anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. Excited, I got this thing working. I just need to test it. Maybe I'll pick up a floppy emu at some point in the future. I know I won't get it in time for this, but so that's that. Any tips, suggestions? I'm not going to recap the rest of the analog board because everything seems to be fine. If I find out later that, there's geometry issues or anything like that I can't adjust with the pots, then we'll look at it that way. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thanks all. I'll catch you later.